I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you're sitting in a massive company town hall meeting.
Oh, yeah. We definitely all know the exact kind you're talking about.
Right. The CEO is up on the main stage or, maybe streaming on your laptop.
And there's that giant, meticulously designed slide deck just glowing behind them.
Exactly. And they proudly announce that the company is executing this massive pivot to AI. They throw around these high impact words like efficiency and digital transformation.
Oh, and don't forget staying hyper-competitive in the modern landscape.
Yes, 100%. And the executives on the front row are just beaming. But down in the crowd, or, sitting alone at your kitchen table, you feel that familiar heavy pit of dread form right in the bottom of your stomach.
The very specific, almost suffocating kind of dread, really.
It totally
It's
is.
the distinct feeling of a massive, invisible weight being dropped directly onto your desk. But it's cleverly disguised as a corporate upgrade.
And I think the wildest part of that whole scenario is that the leadership team genuinely thinks they just delivered fantastic news.
Oh, they're fully expecting a standing ovation.
Yeah, they're waiting for applause while the entire workforce is just quietly calculating how many months of savings they have.
Exactly.
So, today's mission for this deep dive is to decode the mechanics of that exact moment. Like, why do teams secretly, or let's be honest, not so secretly resist AI?
And more importantly, how can leaders actually get them to embrace it instead of fearing it?
Right. And we're pulling our insights today from this genuinely brilliant article by Liz Henderson.
Yes, he's a board advisor specializing in digital, data, and AI. People in the industry often call her the data queen.
Such a great title. And her piece is called The Friction Tax: Why Your Team Isn't Using AI. Okay, let's unpack this because the core argument she makes right out of the gate completely flips the script on why so many AI rollouts just crash and burn.
It really does. I mean, it fundamentally changes the whole diagnostic lens. Because whenever a new software rollout fails, what's the standard assumption?
That the technology is broken, or like it's the bottleneck.
Exactly. Management assumes the software is too complicated, or the internal systems aren't integrated properly, or the data just isn't clean enough.
Right. It's always an IT problem in their heads.
But Henderson points out that the real barrier is rarely the technology itself. The actual barrier is this massive translation gap between the boardroom and the break room.
The translation gap. I love that phrasing. So let's look really closely at the vocabulary that CEO is using in our imaginary town hall.
Yeah, let's do it.
Words like efficiency and transformation. To a board member who is just looking at a quarterly report, efficiency means higher profit margins, right? It means streamlined operations and a better stock price.
Sure. It's all upside for them.
But to a mid-level employee who has a mortgage to pay and kids to feed, efficiency is just universally understood. Corporate code for your job is now at risk.
Yeah, and the employee is doing that translation in real time. They are instantly picking up on the subtext that leadership completely missed.
Totally.
The executives intend to inspire, market confidence, but the workforce is running a full-blown psychological risk assessment.
They're freaking out.
Right. They're hearing that human labor is suddenly viewed as a redundancy that needs to be optimized out of existence.
It actually makes me think of an analogy. It's the corporate equivalent of parents sitting their young kids down in the living room and excitedly telling them, "Great news, everyone! We're getting a robotic nanny."
Oh, wow. That is perfectly put.
Right. The parents are thrilled. They're thinking, "Wow, we finally get more free time. We can actually go out to dinner on a Friday. The house will be spotless."
But the kids don't hear more free time for the family.
No.
Yeah,
The kids hear, "Mom and Dad are replacing us with a machine."
exactly. The intention behind the message and the actual reception of the message are living in two completely different universes. What's fascinating here is the specific term Henderson uses to describe the organizational fallout of that exact disconnect.
The friction tax.
Yes, she calls it the friction tax. Because when employees feel that underlying existential threat, they don't usually organize a loud, dramatic mutiny.
No, nobody flips over a desk in the middle of the office.
Right. Instead, they do something much quieter and, honestly, infinitely more damaging to the company's bottom line. They just keep the new technology at arm's length.
Oh, yeah. Like dragging their feet on creating their logins.
Exactly. Or they run the old manual process parallel to the new system,
Yeah.
just in case.
Oh my gosh, the just-in-case shadow spreadsheet. Every office has one.
Every single one. And they actively look for microscopic errors in the AI output just to prove that the old way was superior.
So they're essentially sabotaging it through sheer inertia.
Precisely. And that delay, that quiet, persistent resistance, that is the friction tax. It's an invisible compounding cost that the organization pays every single hour of every single day.
That is wild to think about.
And Henderson emphasizes a profound point here, which is that you can't solve this by just buying better software or mandating more usage.
Because it's not a tech issue.
Right, this isn't a technology problem at all. It is entirely a narrative problem.
Narratives can be rewritten, though. But to change that narrative, Henderson argues that we have to figure out who the actual villain of the story is.
Yeah, we have to find the real bad guy.
Because if the employee's real enemy isn't the AI, since, the AI is just a bunch of code, what are they actually fighting against every single day?
They're fighting against the exhausting reality of their current environment. And this brings us to one of Henderson's most powerful concepts.
Okay, lay it on me.
She states that in every single organization, there is already an enemy in the room. It's been sitting there for years, quietly draining morale and burning people out.
And she calls it your unseen operating model.
Yes, the unseen operating model is the invisible infrastructure of friction that employees are forced to absorb just to keep the business's lights on.
It's the chaos.
It's the chaotic sprawl of manual processes. It's that one massive, terrifying spreadsheet that takes 4 hours to update, crashes twice a day, and that nobody fully trusts anyway.
Oh, we all know that spreadsheet. It's held together by hopes and dreams.
Yeah, and it's all the duct tape workarounds that exist simply because no one in management ever allocated the time or the budget to fix the underlying broken systems.
It's basically all the soul-crushing administrative busywork that makes you want to pull your hair out by 2:00 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Exactly. And employees have been quietly absorbing the pain of this broken, unseen model on behalf of the business for their entire careers. They've just normalized the dysfunction.
So instead of pitching AI as this shiny, perfect new digital coworker who never sleeps, never takes a vacation, and never makes mistakes, which is terrifying leadership, should be pitching it as the ultimate weed whacker for the administrative tasks we all secretly hate doing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're changing the entire psychological framing of the tool by changing its target.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
When leadership explicitly points out the unseen operating model, like when a manager actually stands up and admits, hey, we know this legacy spreadsheet is an absolute nightmare, and we know our manual data entry process is actively draining your soul, you validate the employee's daily struggle.
You're acknowledging their pain?
Exactly. And suddenly, the AI is no longer the new, intimidating arrival that everyone must adapt to or face termination. It transforms into an exit ramp.
An exit ramp from resented work. I love that.
That's a total game changer.
That framing shifts the AI from being a replacement for the person to being a replacement for the friction?
Yes, exactly.
You aren't dismantling the employee's livelihood. You're dismantling the awful, tedious parts of their job. It completely disarms the team's anxiety because they finally see the machine aiming its crosshairs at the spreadsheet, not at their cubicle.
And it answers the unspoken fear operating in the background of their minds.
Right.
When people truly understand that the AI is being deployed to kill the broken process, the friction tax just evaporates.
The psychology behind that makes total sense. We change the narrative, we target the invisible friction, we give people a clear exit ramp from the work they resent.
Yep.
But how do leaders actually implement this shift on a random Tuesday morning? Because, understanding high-level corporate psychology is great for a white paper, but execution is where these initiatives usually fall apart.
Oh, for sure. But Henderson provides very specific, highly practical moves to make this transition happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first one is brilliantly simple. Execute a jargon detox.
A jargon detox. Considering the state of my inbox right now, I think the whole corporate world needs one of those immediately.
I think we all do. Most corporate communications are just drowning in it.
It's the worst.
Henderson's rule is that leaders need to immediately drop terms like large language models, generative AI, and synergistic transformation roadmaps.
Which is so important because for a lot of people listening, generative AI just sounds like software that generates something out of thin air, meaning it doesn't need a human to provide anything. It sounds like magic, and magic is unpredictable and honestly kind of scary in a workplace context.
Exactly. When you use highly technical jargon, you make the tool sound alien. You make it sound like something only a specialized computer scientist with a PhD can truly understand or control.
So instead of trying to explain the underlying neural network architecture of how an algorithm processes tokens, what should leaders actually say?
They should replace all that intimidating jargon with one plain functional question. Where is information sitting idle that should be doing work?
Oh, I like that. Where is information sitting idle that should be doing work?
It's so much more approachable, right?
It completely demystifies the whole concept. It strips away the sci-fi threat and frames AI just as a basic converter.
Yes,
It
exactly.
takes stagnant data, like, say, a pile of messy survey responses, and turns it into useful output, like a clean summary. It makes the AI sound like basic infrastructure, like office plumbing or electricity, rather than an all-knowing oracle trying to take over the company.
I love the plumbing analogy. And once you've successfully detoxed the language, her second move is about how you actually train the team to use this new plumbing.
Okay, what's the move?
She argues that you need to build a data cafe, not a traditional training course.
Oh, we have to talk about the traditional corporate training model first because it is universally recognized as a form of mild torture.
Truly the worst.
It's usually a mandatory 2-hour meeting in a windowless room where a consultant just reads bullet points off a dense slide deck while everyone else secretly checks their emails under the table.
Yeah, no one is actually learning anything in those.
So how is a data cafe different?
Well, Henderson argues that neurological comfort with new technology does not come from passively staring at a slide deck. Human beings learn tools by doing, not by listening to theory.
That makes total sense.
A data cafe is a completely low-stakes environment.
Mm.
It can be a physical conference room with coffee and pastries, or it can be a dedicated virtual space.
Sounds cozy.
It is. But the fundamental rule is that people go there to experiment with their actual real-world tasks with absolutely zero consequences attached.
Zero consequences.
Right. Nobody is grading their prompts. Management isn't tracking their efficiency metrics while they stumble through their very first attempts.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let me push back on this for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
If you just put a bunch of stressed employees in a low-stakes cafe environment with no formal slides, no strict curriculum, and no tests, won't they just mess around?
The classic management fear.
Yeah. How do they actually learn the hard technical skills required to use the software properly without a structured lesson plan?
It's a very common managerial concern, but it fundamentally misunderstands the initial goal of AI adoption.
Okay, how so?
In those crucial early stages, your goal is not to teach your team the deep technical specifications of prompt engineering. The primary goal is to alter their emotional baseline regarding the tool.
So it's about feelings first, skills second.
Exactly. You want to create an environment where the technology becomes familiar enough that their natural human curiosity finally outweighs their institutional fear.
You have to lower the stakes so far that curiosity feels safe.
Exactly that. Imagine an employee goes into the data cafe. They bring that terrible weekly report they hate doing.
The one that ruins their Friday.
Right. They play around with the AI, make a few mistakes, and suddenly they figure out how to make the system summarize that data in 10 seconds instead of their usual 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
They just experienced a massive, tangible, personal win. Experiencing the AI as a helpful, controllable tool in a safe space does exponentially more for long-term adoption than a top-down theoretical training email ever could.
Because they actually felt the relief.
Yes. The psychology is simple. Once they are genuinely curious and once they've tasted the personal benefit, they will happily teach themselves the harder technical skills because they actually want to use the tool.
So we've detoxed the jargon so they aren't scared of the terminology, and we've gotten people into the data cafe where they're starting to experiment and realize this thing can actually help them.
Right. They're on board.
But how do you take that initial spark of curiosity and make it permanent? Like, how do you get them to integrate it into their daily routine so it doesn't just become a novelty toy they forget about a month later when they get busy?
You have to make the value fiercely personal to their specific career path. And that leads to Henderson's next critical moves: reframing the value and naming the friction tax out loud.
Reframing the value, what does that actually look like in, say, a one-on-one conversation?
It means totally ditching the generic industry case studies. Telling your team how a massive competitor used AI to save $10 million in operational cost does absolutely nothing to motivate your team.
Yeah, nobody cares about the corporate bottom line on a Tuesday morning.
In fact, it just makes them worry about potential layoffs again. Instead, a leader has to show concrete amplification of their specific roles.
Okay, give me an example.
Henderson gives incredible examples of this. If you're talking to a junior analyst who spends all day formatting data, the most effective thing you can tell them is, learning this tool makes you as analytically productive as someone 3 levels above you.
Oh man, it's like giving them an Iron Man suit.
Yes.
You aren't replacing the junior analyst with a robot. You are putting the human analyst inside a mechanized suit of armor so they have the strength to lift a car. You're giving them superpowers.
That's a vital distinction. AI doesn't flatten human expertise. It multiplies it. And the framing changes depending on who you're talking to.
Right, because the junior analyst has different problems than the boss.
Exactly. If you're talking to a middle manager who is just drowning in admin work, you don't talk to them about generic efficiency metrics.
So what do you say to them?
You tell them, this tool is going to handle the scheduling conflicts and the weekly status reporting, so you finally have the mental bandwidth to actually manage, mentor, and lead your people.
You're giving them their time and their primary job description back?
Time, focus, and professional dignity. But to really seal the deal and make it stick, leaders have to go one step further.
Okay.
They have to specifically name the manual tasks that are actively stealing that time. Henderson calls them the tasks that eat Tuesday.
The tasks that eat Tuesday. Anyone listening to this right now knows exactly what their Tuesday eating tasks are.
Oh, yeah, we all have them. And a leader needs to stand up in front of their team and explicitly say, I know that reconciling these 3 incompatible databases takes you 4 agonizing hours every single Tuesday.
Just calling it out into the open.
Exactly. I know it's costing you your time, your creative energy, and your sanity. We are going to work together to use this new AI to completely kill that specific task.
So what does this all mean for the actual sociological dynamic of the team once a leader calls that out so publicly?
It taps into one of the most fundamental aspects of human psychology, which is tribal bonding over a shared enemy.
Oh, nothing brings a team together like a mutual hatred of a spreadsheet.
Right. Human beings naturally unite when they have a common grievance. Historically, the shared enemy was the new software or the leadership pushing the software.
Yeah, the classic us versus management vibe.
But by explicitly naming the tasks that eat Tuesday, leadership performs a psychological sleight of hand. The enemy is no longer the AI, and the enemy is no longer the management.
The enemy is the old, frustrating way of working.
The enemy is the friction itself. By aiming the team's frustration at the manual task, leadership directly answers the only question employees actually care about deep down.
Which is, what does this actually mean for me and my day-to-day life?
Exactly. What does this mean for me? When the genuine answer is, it means you never have to do that soul-crushing data entry on a Tuesday ever again, resistance doesn't just fade. It actively transforms into enthusiasm.
Wow.
The AI simply becomes the best available weapon to solve a problem your people already know they have.
It's brilliant because it's so deeply empathetic to the gritty reality of the daily grind. You know, it treats the employee like a human being rather than a line item.
100%.
So let's play this out. Let's say a company listens to this deep dive and does all of this perfectly.
Okay, best case scenario.
Right. They bridge the translation gap, they kill the scary jargon, they build the low-stakes cafes, they amplify their junior analysts with Iron Man suits, and they unite the team to defeat the tasks that eat Tuesday.
Sounds like a dream.
The team is finally using AI, the friction tax is gone, and everything is running beautifully. But Henderson introduces a massive twist right at the end of her analysis.
He does.
She actually warns leaders against wanting the AI integration to feel too perfect.
Yeah, this is the very subtle but incredibly crucial distinction she makes regarding the long-term future of work. She explicitly warns organizations against the desire for AI integration to be completely seamless.
Hold on, isn't seamless the holy grail of literally all consumer and corporate technology?
You think so?
I mean, we just spent the last 15 minutes talking about the horrors of the friction tax and how desperately we need to eliminate friction from our daily processes. Why is friction bad when it comes to old spreadsheets? But seamlessness is suddenly a dangerous trap when it comes to cutting-edge AI.
This raises an important question about how humans actually interact with your tools. There's a fundamental difference between a workforce that just reaches for AI as a seamless background utility and a workforce that learns to actively shape how that AI is applied to solve complex problems.
Break that mechanism down for me. What is the actual difference between seamless usage and active shaping?
Think about the technology you interact with seamlessly right now in your personal life. The recommendation algorithm on a major streaming service is completely seamless, right?
I just turn it on and it plays something.
You don't direct it. You don't tinker with its code. You just sit on your couch and passively consume whatever content it decides to feed you. The friction is zero, but so is your active engagement. It's entirely invisible. Henderson argues that if AI integration in the workplace is entirely invisible and seamless, your team might be using the AI, but they aren't learning how to direct it. They're becoming passive consumers of the tool's output.
Ah, I see. They're just pressing a button, looking at the summary the AI spit out, and accepting it as gospel truth without thinking critically about the underlying data or asking if the AI could have dug deeper.
Which is a very dangerous habit to form.
Definitely.
In the short term, that passive consumption feels incredibly comfortable and highly efficient. But the organizations that win the next decade won't just have AI running quietly in the background like the office air conditioning.
They need more than that.
Right. They're going to require a workforce that actively molds, directs, and challenges the technology. To go back to your Iron Man analogy, an Iron Man suit isn't a self-driving car.
Oh, that's a great point.
You don't just climb inside, fall asleep, and hope it takes you to the right destination. You have to actively aim the repulsors. You have to choose the flight path. You have to manage the power systems. That's the difference between being a passive passenger and being an active pilot.
So seamless means the AI is doing the driving and we're just along for the ride. But what we actually need is the human to be the active driver, constantly steering the AI to do harder, more complex, and more nuanced things.
As Henderson perfectly puts it, seamless is comfortable. Capable is competitive.
Wow.
You don't want a team that just seamlessly survives the workday by letting the machine do the minimum required output. You want a team that is highly capable of wielding the tool as a competitive weapon to discover entirely new ways of doing business.
They have to be in the driver's seat.
Exactly. They need to understand the inputs, ruthlessly question the outputs, and constantly redesign the interaction to get superior results.
That is a massive paradigm shift for anyone managing a team right now. It completely redefines what a successful rollout actually looks like.
It really does.
It's not about achieving zero friction across the board. It's about eliminating the useless friction of broken spreadsheets, so you have the energy for the right kind of friction. The friction of active learning, critical thinking, and directing the machine.
Well said.
Let's pull all of this together because we've covered incredible ground today. We started by identifying that heavy dread in the town hall, the translation gap, where executive dreams of efficiency sound like terrifying layoffs to the frontline workers.
The dreaded robotic nanny.
Yes. We learned how to defeat the unseen operating model of broken manual processes by ditching the scary sci-fi jargon and replacing formal, stressful slide decks with low-stakes, exploratory data cafes.
Crucial steps.
We talked about handing junior analysts an Iron Man suit to multiply their value, and the psychological power of creating a shared enemy out of the tasks that eat Tuesday. And finally, we uncovered the hidden danger of the seamless trap, realizing that we don't just want to be comfortable and passive with AI, we want to be aggressively capable with it.
It's a completely new way to look at the modern workplace.
So, to you listening right now, I want to challenge you to think about your own workday tomorrow morning. Look at your desk, look at your monitor, and find your unseen operating model. Where is the stagnant data? What are the absurd manual processes weighing you down? What are the specific tasks that are eating your Tuesday?
Identifying those soul-crushing tasks is the vital first step toward reclaiming your time. But it also leaves us with a fascinating, slightly provocative thought to carry forward into the rest of the week.
Oh, what's that?
If we apply Henderson's framework perfectly across an entire economy, like if AI successfully acts as the ultimate exit ramp for all the administrative friction, all the manual processes, and all the busy work we currently resent, what does the new baseline of human hard work actually look like?
Oh, that's a deep question.
Human nature intrinsically loves a struggle. Our brains are literally wired to solve problems and overcome obstacles. If we eliminate the friction tax entirely, will we finally achieve a utopia of pure strategic focus and creativity? Or will we just subconsciously invent entirely new types of complex organizational friction in the future just to satisfy our psychological need to feel productive?
Now, that is something to think about the next time you're sitting in a company town hall meeting.